So we'll settle down. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths into your body. Feel your body, your mind, all beginning to coalesce into this present moment. Our arms, our hands are so vitally important. They are extensions of our heart. And they become problematic for us if we are not careful. So much of the work we do today interferes with the natural flow of the pranic energy and the blood in the lymph. Areas can become stagnant. And so we look to the gifts of yoga and other methods to help us maintain the health of our hands, our wrist, and what is connected, the forearms, the upper arms, and the shoulders. And now inhale deeply with me. And as you exhale, bring your hands up to your heart. And feel within your heart for that spark of joy, gratitude, peace, love, whatever you can search for and find. And as you feel that, feel how it would be to move through your arms and offer that to someone. But also feel what it would be like to receive that from someone through your arms. So the movements of feeling can extend outward, away from the heart through the arms. The gifts of giving and receiving. Exhale, bow your head. Release your hands. And then open your eyes. And let your head lift. Good. Right away, let's go right into Parvatasana. Interlace the fingers and turn the palms up and stretch. This is wonderful for the wrist, by the way, because it does two things. You can't really only address the wrist when addressing the wrist. You have to address the shoulders too. Because everything that you're working on, from the elbow down into your fingers, is affected by what's going on also in the shoulders. So bend your elbows out to the side and switch the interlace of your hands and repeat. Then press up and try to have the heel of the hands like mine. If you look at the screen and like mine, they're flat. So the wrist is completely open. Turn your thumbs up, pull the little fingers down. And then when you release, you take the arms out to the side, bring the arms level with the shoulders, and then pull the hands back. Pull your fingers back, pull your thumb back, pull the hands back. And release. When you relax the arms, you can feel how you've done something already for yourself. Let's go ahead and do our twist. And then twist the other way. And then release. Now, I'm going to stay seated, and you can stay seated, or if you need to stand up, or change your seated posture, because I just want to do shoulder blade movements at first. Because remember, what is going on up here can affect the wrist. Because if I'm like this all the time and blocking energy flow, that will go all the way down into the wrist. So with your best posture, so remember, we want to keep the chest lifted and the shoulder blades are towards each other and down the back at first. And now with your arms just relaxing, lift the shoulder blades up, lower the shoulder blades. Now, as you see me doing this, you can see the shoulders are rising up and down. But the movement is because the shoulder blades are rising up, the shoulder blades are coming down. They're rising up, they're coming down. So if I turned around and you could then peel the skin off and you could just see muscle and shoulder blade, you would see the shoulder blades riding up the back and down the back. So try to just make sure that nothing back there is stuck. One more time, up and down. Now that's called elevation and depression. You don't have to write that down, unless you're Tamara, because she's taking trainings with me. So she's but now we're going to do protraction and retraction from the shoulder blades. It looks like from the front that I'm rounding my shoulders. So what I'm doing is moving the shoulder blades forward and the shoulder bone follows. And then I squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other so my arm bones go behind me. Shoulder blades wide, shoulder blades together. Shoulder blades wide, shoulder blades together. And the shoulder bone moves because it's connected to the shoulder blade. So this is retraction, this is protraction. If you want to know the anatomical terms for the shoulder blade movements. Let's do two more. Good. And now let's do the shoulder movements, but we'll do the circles. So big circles. Now the shoulder blades will move because our intention is in the shoulder bones. But again, the connection makes the shoulder blades have to kind of rise up and go down with the shoulder bones. So we're getting that head of the humerus to spin against that socket, the glenohumeral joint thingy. And then the other way. Big circles. If you do this well, it feels good, and you can even do this simple practice can be done during the day with your at your desk if you're working a lot. And when you relax the arms, you can feel the blood flow and the prana flow. And once again, if you need to stand up, it's fine to stand up and do this, or you can also change your leg position, because I don't want you to stay too long and get your legs and feet numb. So this would be the shoulder bone moving in the against the shoulder blade socket in the movement of flexion and extension. So hold the belt in front of you and then figure out what is the best distance for my hands and pull the belt tight. Use the inhale to lift and the exhale to take the arms back behind you, and then inhale, come up, and exhale, go in front. Inhale, lift, exhale behind. Inhale, lift, exhale in front. Inhale, lift, exhale and back. And if it's a little problematic, then see if wider helps. If it's too easy, see if you can go a little bit more narrow. And one more time. Okay, and then release. Now let's do the chest opener practice that really lets us pull the chest open and get those shoulders back. So we know, we've been practicing and taking our classes, that when we interlace the fingers behind us, if there's a lot of tightness in here, the elbows don't straighten very well and they don't lift away. And so it's hard to get a good stretch. So holding your belt would help. And if you do hold a belt, the hand should face forward like mine. And then you can lift the arms, lift, 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 squeeze the shoulder blades together and bow your head. So the arms lift, the chest lifts, the head bows, and through the whole thing you're breathing and keep lifting the pit of the abdomen. And then release. Relax for a moment and we'll repeat that. So you have a chance to do it a second time and in a second way. So if you did it here and it felt okay, you could take your hands together a little bit more on the belt, or maybe even this time try the hands together. But remember, you want to get some movement. So I'm emphasizing that because I can see so many of my students, interlacing their hands because they see everyone else doing that. And then the elbows are slightly bent and the arms don't move. So that means that this is not getting any stretch. So the belt is much better choice. So now I'm going to interlace my fingers. And you can see, look at my arm bones. I roll them behind me, they disappear. And then I lift my arms. So for me, I can do this. I'm tired in the front a little bit, but I can lift my arms and keep my elbows straight, make my arms disappear, and then bow the head. Good. All right. And now I want to do the trapezius release. And that's one of the reasons why I asked if you had an 8-foot belt. But it's okay because we can do one side at a time with a 6-foot belt. We are going to stand up now, but before we do, let's go ahead and get our belts looped. So I'm just going to make sure the reason why I take my hand like this and go along the belt is just to make sure I don't have any twist. And then I latch it. Oops, wrong way. And the reason I want the little buckle in this type of belt buckle to curl up. All right. So I've got my loop ready. I'm going to stretch my legs out in front. Now we're just going to do there's many different parts to this, but tonight we're just going to do the one side, just straight down release. Okay. So I'm just going to pump my quads a few times because I've been sitting for a while. And also move my ankles because when I stand up, I don't want my feet to be asleep or anything like that. Because remember, it's being recorded. I don't want to fall. Then Adelpha's watching the video and editing and trying to figure out how to cut that part out. So yeah, now you can see me. So this is the Paget banner on the body. So I'll go under, my right arm is going under, I'm mirroring you, so that's your right arm. So I sort of went in like a sleeve, and then it goes over my head onto the left shoulder. Now you want the tail in front of you, right at the breastbone, hanging downward, not lifting up, you don't want it where it's pointing up, you want it pointing down. And then you tighten it and check it out with your right hand. Now that's too tight because when I push down, my elbow is too bent. And if the elbow bends too much, then I might have too much power. This is one of those practices where you have to, when you're going to give that pressure of that belt on that trapezius, you want it to be just right. If I overdo it, then the fibers actually could tighten it as sort of 50-60% of your actual ability. And don't underdo, don't be too soft with it because then it really won't make much change. The hand is key, this on the belt right here. First of all, it's not on just my thumb, it's on the whole heel of the hand. You see, I don't want to strain, it's easy to strain the thumb. It's strained enough as it is, so let's not do that tonight. And the second thing is it starts behind you and comes forward on the exhale. And the coming forward is the magic. That's the secret for this to really work. It pulls the belt. It puts pressure on the belt first. That's number one. And then it pulls the trapezius down the back. And that is key because the trapezius is rising up around our necks and getting to a place where soon we won't have a neck. But we're going to fix that. Inhale with me with the hand behind you a little bit, and exhale, push down and drag forward. And release, remember, not too much, but enough. And this should be as high close to the neck as it can be, so you can really get the thick part of the upper trapezius. Let's go again. Inhale, exhale, push down and forward. And the elevated scapula, by the way. Release. Inhale, and keep your shoulder blades down. And as you exhale, push down and forward. And that was number 3, so we'll do it 2 more times. You don't have to do this a lot. Inhale, exhale, push down, just enough, and then forward to drag the fibers down behind you, and release. And one more time. Inhale, exhale, and forward. Good. And then let go. And again, don't overdo it. So some people love it. Oh, so good. I'm going to keep doing it. And, free my neck of all this tension. It's better to do this like maybe 2 or 3 times in a day in increments than a whole bunch of times at once. Yeah. Because it's really a good practice. And one of the reasons why some people want to know why we don't hold it. Why do you not just hold it? Well, the trapezius in this area where the scalenes are right there and all those nerves coming out of the brachial plexus is too much. Too much pressure on the nerves. And so we don't want to irritate them. Oh, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this too. So it's important to know, why are we even bothering with this? But I came to do a wrist and hand workshop. Well, if you don't address the shoulders, and that's really part of the problem, then the hands might feel better after the practice, but you haven't solved anything. Because since a lot of nerves come through the trapezius, it could be the reason why you have wrist and hand pain. Inhale, exhale, push down and drag forward. Check to make sure your belt is as high as it can go. Inhale, exhale, push down and drag forward. Good. Push down and drag forward. Release. And one more time, push down and drag forward. And release. And then when you take this off, you just turn your head side to side and see if you helped free that whole area up. If it's really tightened up, then just, as long as you're not in any danger if you just tighten it up a little bit. But if it's a lot and you think it's going to last longer than just a few minutes, especially let that be a message. I was a little bit heavy-handed. And begin to I was used to be heavy-handed. That's why I can understand this and explain. You have to learn to moderate and back off a little bit. I've never had any side effects that lasted longer than just a few minutes when I was over-aggressive, but I found out that I don't have to go 100%. 50%, 60% is enough pressure. It is really one of my favorite practices, and of course, we have to thank Adil Papiwala for that. I remember I showed up at a therapeutic workshop with him. This is like the first thing he taught one weekend, and I thought, God, every dime of money, the plane ticket, the hotel cost, the cost of the workshop, I just got my money's worth. Okay, so now we're going to actually work on the wrist. I want you to get very comfortable. If you are not comfortable, so I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor now. You could sit on a chair. Something sturdy there. If you get on a sofa cushion that sort of sinks you down, you might collapse your spine. And it's going to be very important that all these practices are done with good posture in mind. So your chest is lifted, your shoulder bones are back, your shoulder blades are down and towards each other, the pit of the abdomen is lifted. And let's do this one first. So you interlace the fingers like this. So your hands are facing the floor. Then you cross them so you have an X. Now remember which one's on top. So my right side is mirroring you. It'll be the right side on top. Turn the palms to face each other and interlace the fingers. And then bend the elbows out to the side and let the arms sweep through. Oh, a little tight today. Yeah. Go as far as you can. Some people just flop right into this. I can feel a lot of stretch in my forearms and in my wrist. And that's where you want some in my shoulder, almost up in especially the right side, right shoulder, the mirror image of you. So this is good for all those areas: shoulders, elbows, wrists, and forearms. And by the way, this is one that, for those of you who have that job, that work job, the desk, it's a very good one to do periodically throughout the day. And don't worry if you don't get all the way straight. And don't worry if it doesn't happen in the next 10 years. Just keep practicing it and remember that I don't have to get to the full straight elbows. It's going to benefit me just to practice this alone because it gets everything. Okay, so now I'm going to take what will be your left arm if you're mirroring me on top. Turn the palms to face each other, interlace the fingers, and sweep through. And stretch the arms out straight. Yeah, and if you try to undo the fingers and do them back, it would be out of order. So you want to, as best you can, Keep the fingers interlaced the whole time. So this is pretty powerful. It almost feels like it's getting some of those itchy places. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Adil, the sequence that I'm teaching you now is the sequence that he caused his wrist series. So, and it's a wonderful practice for people with carpal tunnel. So now, in this next one, we'll do sort of like a little wrist traction rotation. So this is right here, these 8 little carpal bones right here get really stuck. So let's have your left, mirror me, your left hand will, because it's a little tricky, but if we do it slow and methodically, you'll get it. Your left hand will face you. Now the right hand is going to be the helper hand. I'm going to do the left wrist. So the fingers, see how I'm coming up behind the left hand, and my 4 fingers are going to drape over the thumb now. So from my point of view, it looks like that. You see my fingers on the thumb now. Then the little finger goes right here, right there, between the little finger and the ring finger hand bones, the metacarpals. Now, holding the arm up like this, you turn, hold the arm steady, don't let the forearm move, but turn the palm up. So the little finger, my mistake, the thumb is pressing the little finger side of the hand up, and the 4 fingers are putting the thumb side of the hand down. So you get a rotation in the hand. And then your thumb has an extra job. It pushes the flesh, it sort of captures the skin and pushes the skin away from the wrist. So there you go. So palm is twisting your face up. And then you just hold it right there. Hold it right there. There's not an extra step. This is all. Whew, that feels nice actually for me because I've been at the computer a lot. And then release. Okay? I know it's a little tricky. So we'll do it this side and hopefully you can remember. So remember, this is the best way to think of this. Your hand faces you. There's 2 different practices. We're going to do both of them. And the first one, the hand faces you. So now the other arm has to have something to do. It's the helper. So it comes from behind and the 4 fingers are going to catch that thumb now because they're going to turn the palm up. That's their job. But the thumb goes right between the metacarpals of the little finger and the ring finger. And then holding the forearm level to the floor, you turn the palm up. And then you push the thumb towards the fingers because that creates a little bit of lengthening. Yeah, just hold it. And don't forget, check your posture. Make sure you're not all slumped over while doing this. Now hold yourself upright. Nice and juicy. And let go. So remember, in the first one, let's just review it very quickly. Palm faces your heart. The 4 fingers come up and catch the thumb down. The thumb has its job. Everybody's got a little something to do. The thumb has its job. It goes right there in between those 2 bones of the hand. And then you turn. And the forearm stays up. Now let's do the second one. Now the palm faces away. Now the 4 fingers are going to catch the little finger side of the hand. And the thumb is going to go here on the, like at the back of the hand between the index finger and thumb. So it looks like that on the back side. Okay? So once again, the palm is facing away. And the fingers catch the little side of the hand, finger side of the hand, and the thumb is on the back side in the area of the index finger and thumb. And then the same thing, I'm going to turn the palm up. But this one has an extra step. In this one, you drop the elbow. Now remember, when the hand faces the heart, you don't drop the elbow. But in this one, you drop the elbow. Oh, that feels nice. We'll hold it for a moment. This is really good for people because carpal tunnel a lot of times is from compression of the medial arch where the flexor retiniculum, or the little band of cartilage, crosses over the median nerve and release. And so this is sort of like creating some mobility in an area that's hard for us during our daily activities of life to get that mobility back. So we can do all of this all we want, but we don't really get that release of pressure in that carpal tunnel arch. But this will help. Palm faces away, right? We'll do the other side. Here comes the helper hand. Reaches for the finger mounds. This time, by the way, remember this way the hand came up from behind. When the hand faces you, the helper hand comes up from behind. When the palm faces away from you, it comes this. Yeah, that's right. It comes this way. So not this way, because that's not it. It's this way. It comes from the back side of the hand again. Okay, so fingers cup right here, thumb in the back, turn the palm up. I know that feels awkward, but that's going to create that mobility in your 8 little wrist bones, and drop the elbow. It almost looks like you're trying to break your arm, doesn't it? Oh, that feels so good. And these are the simple ones too. I would say that of everything that we're doing this evening, this would be the most complex one to try to remember. And then release. Now let's just review it also, because I do want you to try to remember it. If you're here in this class, there's a good chance you're here because you want to take care of your hands and wrists. And the second one, the palm faces away. The forearm is level at first to the floor. Fingers cup here around the, this is the thenar eminence. It's what they call this pad right here. Thumb is on the opposite side of the hand. And you turn the palm up and drop the elbow. And the other side is still reaching for the pad, this time the thumb down, and the thumb is on the, where it can be. It's a good way of remembering it. Don't drop the elbow and turn the palm up. But the thumb is what's going to create a little extra traction that when it presses away from the wrist. Okay? All right. So now let's do this. Now this one is really good for arthritis. And first, you hold, if you were a teacher, you're a teacher, just have everyone hold their hands like this and then switch. And so just that alone is enough, because as the hands squeeze each other, you're starting to get some prana, not just blood flowing, but prana. And so for people with arthritis, they're also getting some of the, hopefully we hope, some synovial fluid production in their joints. Now what you do is you actually have them start clapping when you do it. So you can hear the clap sound. Now you can just do it this speed, or you can sort of have them pick it up. And there's a little bit of a skill of not getting, because you can get too fast and start to stumble your fingers into each other and not be able to keep turning the hands. And you have a little song you can sing while doing this. Faster, if you want. And it creates heat, and the heat can help. It's the heat and the movement, again, can be very beneficial for arthritis. Okay? And you can get even faster if you want to. But now we do it with the fingers interlacing. So you have this dominant way that you hold your hands. And then you have the undominant way, and you begin to go back and forth like that. And again, it could just be done gentle move. It depends on your population. If I was teaching a chair yoga class to seniors, I'd probably just have them do this. But we can probably go a little bit more, so we can create the sound. We're not trying to hurt ourselves, we're just trying to generate heat. And then a little faster. Now this one you have to really work hard to keep the fingers from bumping into each other. And the more you practice, the better at that you will be. And you can even try to get faster. And you can set a goal and say something like, there's 108 mala beads. Let's do it 108 times. Sometimes it's okay to just keep the forearm stretch very simple. You just take the forearm. Now the thumb is off here to the side, right? So it's hard to include it in this particular stretch. But you take let's use our left hand, for example. Take your hands across the fingers and pull the fingers back, but have the arm lifted enough so that you get the forearms too. You could do it with the elbow bent, and you can do it with the elbow straight. Both, it just creates different effects. When you bend the elbow, you take out some of the forearm muscles that would get a little extra stretched if the elbow was straight, and then you can go straight and you'll feel something a little different. And then go ahead and pull the thumb back. Now, since there's nothing coming from the elbow to the thumb, it doesn't matter. The forearm does house muscles that control the thumb, but they don't cross the elbow. So you just pull the thumb back and let that stretch. But be very careful, because if you have some irritation in your thumb from over texting, you could overdo a stretch. Okay? So now the other hand, elbow straight, fingers pulled back, elbow bend. It's sort of like, think about it like the calf muscle. You can stretch the calf with the knee bent. You can stretch the calf with the knee straight, and it affects what's being stretched. Okay? Good. Now the thumb. Pull back. And if you were saying, well, which way? Because the thumb has a lot of movements. I'm just doing it so that it'd be like if I were making a pretend like a trigger finger with the thumb's going to represent like a pow pow, which we don't want to, don't think about stuff like that right now, but that's just the image to help you understand. I'm just putting it straight back to the forearm. You could go back towards the hand, but if it doesn't have it, the mobility mostly is for extension is towards the forearm. That feels nice too. The thumb loves it. It's so grateful that you're giving it some attention. It's sometimes like, you make me work so hard and you give me no love. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about the thumb, and it's over here now, so it's really grateful to know it's getting attention. This is the theme. I hope I call this the hypothenar eminence. This is the thenar eminence, this little pad right here. There are 4 muscles right there in that pad right under the thumb, and it gets really tight and tense in there. So it's nice you can just massage, you just pressure, a little pressure, but if you pinch it, you kind of squeeze the muscles up and can get kind of a little bit underneath them, which really feels nice. So just pinching and not holding, not irritating, just a little squeeze, 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 okay? And then come to the other side, because the other side is getting jealous. It says, you make me do all the A's and the S's and the W's. Well, you better give me some attention too. And a squeeze, 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 squeeze. Oh my goodness. I bet most of us text fine. We know the keyboard well, but can you imagine someone who's never studied typing and just had to learn the keyboard? And who thought of putting the letters where they are? Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? And we learn it, and our brain remembers it, and then we wonder why we can't learn to use a computer program. Okay, so now we're going to get to the nitty-gritty, okay? Oh, I know, before we get to the nitty-gritty, the real serious practice, I want to just do wrist movements. So let's do flexion extension is pretty easy. So you can make a fist and do, that's flexion, that's extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension. And now open the hands, flexion, extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension, flexion, extension. Good. Now make fist and go side to side. This is abduction, adduction. Or in the old days, we called it, this would be radial deviation, and that would be ulnar deviation. But now they just reduced it to abduction and adduction. Do it with the fist, and then do it with your hands. And you can go like windshield wipers or like that. So that's just to create the movements of the wrist has 4 main movements: flexion, extension, and if I have to put my hand like this for it to make sense, that's abduction. It moves away, it was abducted away from the body. That's adduction, adding it to the body. But now we want to take the wrist and just do the circles. So it also does circumduction, which is a combination of the 4 movements. Doing it in both ways. First with the wrist, the fist. We are doing it with the wrist. I don't know of any other way to do it. And then the hands open. Oh. Yeah, and see what you're doing is you're getting all those 8 little bones along against the forearm bones and the metacarpals of the hand to slide and glide against each other and get a little bit lubricated. But now we're going for the big stretches. This is the one that I was talking about. Now we're going to get on our hands and knees. And if you like, you can pad the knees. You can even pad the hands. So what I mean is, this will be for my knees, because I'll be in all fours. And then if you don't like the hands on the floor like this, and they're going to turn them around, then you can have a blanket down. Now I won't use a blanket for this one, but the second one, when my hands are like this, I will put a blanket down because the hard floor really bothers my knuckles. So step one, this has 4 stages. So stage 1, the fingers just point forward. It's very easy. It's like you're at a table and you just begin to rock back and forth. The rocking is inviting the forearms to open at the wrist. Okay, and then you turn the hands out. Okay, now don't forget this part. Now that the hands are turned out, what we were just doing with the body continues the same direction. You rock forward and back. So in this position, you're rocking on the wrist in what we were just doing, flexion and extension. In this direction, we're rocking in the 2 deviations of the abduction and adduction. Still a piece of cake, but this is challenging for some people. Okay, and now we turn the hands all the way around. A lot of external rotation. So sometimes you have to almost like do one hand at a time. Some people have to actually sort of turn, get that hand in place. And then, oh, that one didn't quite make it. So we have to just turn the wrist out in order to get the middle finger to point back to the knee. And that one is so intense, sometimes you just have to wait a moment, because it'll take your breath away. But now we begin the rocking. Rocking, oh, the forearms need it so bad. This is when you ask the question, what happened? Why me? What happened? Oh, my. Now to understand, when those of you who are studying anatomy or have studied anatomy, you know that all the forearm muscles, all of them, every forearm muscle crosses the wrist and goes into the hand. And some of them go into the fingers. So what we would like to do is make it even stretchier for the forearm muscles by bending the fingers backwards. So you lift the palms off the floor. Now I know that doesn't work well for everyone. So you do the best you can. So and my right hand lifts up very well, but my left hand's pretty stuck. I'm left hand dominated. So you can see the difference in the 2 hands. And then after you pause and you accommodate a little bit, then you bend the elbows. Like that. Notice my thumbs are up. You can't include the thumbs. It won't work. Okay? And then release. That is one of those practices that you should do every day. Definitely. I know you say, I've heard you say that a lot about things, Chair. Everyday practice. It means that you really have to get up at about 4 a.m. and continue to practice until 8 p.m. You cannot have a full-time job. You have to do yoga all day long. Now, I put the blanket down because I'm going to be on the backs of the hands like this. And that really kind of bothers my knuckles. So now I'm doing, see, that was, the first one was for these muscles. Now I'm going to stretch these, because even though this is the chronic position, so we need to open this way, if we are chronically in this position, they're going to get tight too. So I put my hands down like this with the fingers pointing towards each other, they face up, and this time the movement is side to side. So fingers face inward. And try to keep the back, the wrist will not be on the floor, but the back of the hands should be on the floor. And just breathe in. Try to keep the elbows straight. Okay, now we're going to turn the hands so the fingers point to the knees. And the movement is still side to side. And you can lighten the load a little bit. You don't have to have all your body weight on the back of the hands. You know, it's a good stretch for this forearm. These are the extensor muscles in the forearm. And then there's another one. You turn the hands, the fingers out, and still rock side to side. It looks like you're broken. And if the wrists come up a little bit, your hands can't be flat. You just do the best you can. You try. And all of these, I know in this one, a lot of times people struggle with trying to get their arms completely turned around with the back of their hands on the floor. So go as far as you can and leave out the rocking if you feel uncomfortable. And then just lift up the back of the hands, but bend the elbows out to the side. So the stretch is across the forearm and the back of the hand and the back of the fingers. This one you hold. The last one, both of these have 4 different steps, and the last one of both of them you just hold. Okay, and then you release. And you just have to roll your wrists around a little bit, because I know that was a lot. That was a lot. Oh, okay, good. Now you're staying. Well, Terry, at work, I would love to do something similar, but I cannot get down on the floor and do this. My boss will not approve. I don't have a private office, blah, blah, all those things, right? And I understand it is hard. You got your business suit on and you get on the floor and start doing your wrist exercises. Somebody might say something. So this would be for this stretch when you're at work. If someone catches you doing this, you just say, I was praying. Give me strength, Lord. And then what you do, now press the heel of the hands together. This is a common practice. We do namaste, but you begin to lower the hands down. Now, as you start to lower, you can, if you watch the screen, you can see the heel of my hands coming apart, but I push the heel of the hands into each other. And keep coming down and keep coming down until you can feel the forearm stretch. So this is the one you do. And maybe you're at work, maybe you don't have time for much yoga. And you're riding in a car with someone who's just driving you crazy, and you need to do something to distract yourself from them. That's true. Anytime you're with somebody and they get really crazy, really annoying, just go like this or touch your heart. And say, what are you doing? Well, I'm just trying to send you the best life in the like this moment. Now reverse that. Remember this whole scene? Now you put the backs of your hands together. Now this one's a little problematic because we're a little tight for some of us. Some of you, the the back of the thumbs come together easily. But you can see I'm not. So I've got to roll my arms a little bit more inward to get the backs of the thumbs to come towards each other the best that I can. So you see in this one I cave a little bit. Then slide the hands down, but keep the backs of the hands into each other. Keep rolling the thumbs towards each other. Even if they don't meet, they roll towards, because you don't want to be like this, where there's a big part. You want to have them towards each other. And now you can really feel a delicious stretch in the back of the wrist. And release. Now in this next one, you sweep the arm to get the flow of energy in the values, which some of you have studied. So what I always do, I take my watch off. I don't bother to take that ring off because that doesn't really bother me. But I do want to get anything, if I can take it off, then it'll not be a big bother. Otherwise, just let the hands sweep over it softly. So shake your hands out, kind of make sure everything's loose and limp. And then let's do the right arm. And let's just see how it feels. Let it be loose and limp and soft. Take your hand all the way up to the upper trapezius. This is your left hand. And sweep down the arm. And as you sweep down, grab the thumb and sweep off. And then start doing that. Now the index finger, sweep off. Coming down, middle finger, sweep. Coming down, ring finger, sweep. And each time you'll setting the intention to create a pranic flow of energy from the neck down the arm, uninterrupted. Because what happens sometimes is the flow of energy is very much interrupted. And that's where we get stagnation and get pain and discomfort, which is really our body's communication system. We must remember that the pain symptom, the discomfort symptom, is the red light on the dashboard, like our car. 15 repetitions, each finger gets three different sweeps. And then just relax for a moment and feel the difference between the right arm and the left arm. It's interesting, the shoulder feels, for me, very different, like the whole arm, like it's a little lighter, is how I might describe it. Now let's do the left arm. So from the neck all the way down, sweep, thumb, sweep, thumb. Remember, you are being the conscious director of energy in your body. So hold that intention. You're doing it under your command, not waiting for it to happen. You are taking over. You're tired of waiting for it. So you set the rules. Move the energy from the neck to the shoulder, down the arm, and out the fingers. Okay, and then when you're done, you pause and feel again. Okay, and now when you practice your relaxation, I don't know if you have a sandbag in your home, and you could cover your hands, like set that sandbag on your hand and let that weight the hand down. If you don't have a sandbag, you can also, if you wanted to, and you don't have to do anything but let your arms be out by your side, relaxing. But you could also, which is really nice, is take a blanket like this. If you have two that match, so they're symmetrical, and fold to lie down. And you just have to get them both ready. And I fold that blanket over my hand. So I've been working on healing this arm, right? So I want to continue to let it know, even in rest, that I'm working on the healing. So it's going to be covered and warm. So if I've got my arms by me, I got my blankets by me, I don't have a teacher that can come around and do this. So the blankets are set up on either side. They match, and then I just slip my arms in. And then you rest, and then see your arms from the neck, the shoulders, all the way down in a cocoon of light. This light extends from the heart center and moves from there outward. My arms, my hands are ready to do the work. To do the work that is required of me to help me with my dharma, my purpose, and to help me help others. Now more than ever, we have to be strong. And we have to remember that the willingness to give is just as important as the willingness to receive. Savitri, who is the meditation teacher for the Prana Yoga, says all the time, always reminds us, it must be equal. Your ability to receive the gifts from others must be equal to your willingness to give. Take a slow, deep breath into your body and exhale. Bend your knees and gently rock side to side. Roll to your right side and position yourself there on the right side where your head and your neck are both comfortable. Push into the floor now and come to sit. The light within me sees and honors the light within you. Namaste.